Okay. It's just me and Jim. And I've got Halloween programs on Snickers bars. So I'm going to eat Snickers bars this week. I'm going to do it for somebody to appreciate it. I always, but then it is, I'm so glad to make me happier than everybody else because I need to learn my strength. It was delicious.
The black t-shirt.
It's right down there at the bottom. Just double click on it.
Oh, right here.
Right, I would use the mouse because that's.
Where am I clicking?
Right there, that video right there. Yeah, just double click it. It will automatically start.
Okay.
I call this regular meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 7 p.m. on November 5th, 2020. Board members, district staff members, and members of the audience, you are free to join me in standing as Pastor Rodney Whitfield from Aldersgate United Methodist Church provides a message, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by John Matthews and the Pledge to the Texas flag led by Randy Scheckman.
Gracious and loving God, as we gather tonight as a community, I give thanks for all of your blessings, for our leaders and their service, for all the ways you continue to grow and develop our students, our faculty, and staff. We especially celebrate tonight those that will be honored and for their accomplishments. As we gather here in this place, God, we ask for you to continue to bless our leaders, that they may lead with wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. May their deliberations be wise, their decisions be for the good of all children, families, and faculty and staff who are in our care. Bless our leaders that they may lead with integrity, make decisions that reflect what is good and right, and the work might be infused with passion and creativity and have wisdom balanced with compassion and challenge. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
As a district, we dedicate all our efforts and resources to our goal of high expectations for all. The board uses this goal to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in a closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code, Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, the board members present are Tara Herbachik, John Matthews, Sally Derrick, Randy Shackman, Guillermo Ramos, and Nancy Klein. We constitute a quorum and may conduct business on behalf of the district. Before moving on to the next agenda item, I would like to remind you that the board will accept comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so during agenda item number 3, audience for guests. Please submit your request to do so on one of the forms provided on the table just outside the boardroom door. You may place the completed form in the box provided on that same table or present your completed form to Administrative Assistant Kim Castanon, who's sitting over here in the black shirt. When the board addresses agenda item number 3, audience for guests, you will be invited to the podium to speak to the board. Item number 2, and what we were most excited about, is our special presentations and recognitions. Dr. Chapman?
Yes, thank you. At this time, we're going to recognize our teachers of the 9 weeks. What a great opportunity to be celebrating our, what I would consider right now, our heroes and what they're doing for our kids each and every day. And so we have a special group of individuals that we would like to honor today in this video.
Amanda Ray Jones, Blaylock Middle School. Gina Ramon, Bush Middle School. Jimmy Felbaum, Field Middle School. Belinda Lopez, Long Middle School. Catherine Stewart, Perry Middle School. Victoria Wilbanks, Polk Middle School. Britt Crew, Creekview High School. Cindy Stubbs, Early College High School. Athena Hans, Ranchview High School. Joanna McDowell, Smith High School. J.C. Hamlin, Turner High School. Megan Goss, Grimes Education Center. Karen Busby, Salazar Learning Center. Emma Hernandez, Student Nutrition. Christy McLean, Professional. Martin Fletcher, Facilities. And Donna Cook, Paraprofessional.
Well, congratulations again to these employees of the 9 weeks as well as these teachers of the 9 weeks. As Dr. Chapman said, we are so proud of them for their efforts. Next, we have some special recognitions of students, and so tonight we are very proud to introduce you to our 2021 CFBISD National Merit Scholars. First, I want to read you a little bit about this award before we actually call the students forward. High school juniors take the PSAT NMSQT qualifying test and are eligible for the prestigious National Merit Award. Of the 1.6 million students, some 50,000 with the highest PSAT index scores, which is approximately the top 3% of the country, are recognized as commended scholars and semifinalists. Additionally, the National Hispanic Recognition Program honors approximately 5,000 juniors. These recognized students are eligible for some of the most generous local, state, and national collegiate scholarship awards. We are so proud tonight to recognize the following students who have qualified for this recognition. So students, as I call your name, if you'll come forward, and parents, in advance, we want to congratulate you as well because we know this is definitely a team effort. So first we have R.L. Turner High School, and the principal is Dr. Adam Grenage. Semi-finalist is Jara Chandler. Congratulations. Next, we have Joseph Davis, semifinalist. Congratulations. Semifinalist Nicholas Rayo. Congratulations. And semifinalist Sarah Shepard. Congratulations. Commended scholars from Turner are Ankitha Domo, congratulations. Commended Anupam Khan. Congratulations. And commended Esmeralda Rizzo. Is she able to make it? Okay. Congratulations to all the Turner recipients. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, next we have Newman Smith High School, and the principal there is Dr. Stephanie Jimenez. And the first semifinalist is Raul Carthy. He's not here? Okay. And commended, we have Jacob Von Tress. Congratulations. Creekview High School, and the principal is Joe LaPuma, and the semifinalist there is Kathleen Reddy. Congratulations. And commended is Aiden Hawkins. Congratulations. And you'll notice Mom and Dad are still standing because they have another one in the family, Connell Hawkins. Congratulations. National Hispanic Scholar is John Shaler. Congratulations. And next, we have Ranchview High School, and the principal there is Sherry Scratch, and we have a commended scholar, Ethan N. Mystery. Congratulations. You want one more? Yeah. Next, we have a special recognition, excuse me, for the Early College High School, and we are so proud to announce tonight that the Early College High School has been selected as a 2020 National Blue Ribbon School based on the school's high academic performance. The recognition is based on a school's overall performance or progress in closing achievement gaps among students and subgroups. I want to read to you a lot about this because it's such an awesome award, and we're so proud of them. And the coveted National Blue Ribbon School Award affirms educators, families, and communities' hard work in creating safe and welcoming schools where students master challenging and engaging content. ECHS is one of only 26 schools in the state of Texas to receive the award this year. Now in its 38th year, the National Blue Ribbon Schools program has bestowed recognition on more than 9,000 schools. The department recognizes all schools in one of two performance categories based on all student scores, student subgroups, and graduation rates. ECHS qualified under the category of exemplary high-performing schools. These schools are among their state's highest-performing schools as measured by the state assessments or nationally normed tests. ECHS staff, in partnership with Dallas College, has created a long-lasting, transformative educational experience that drives inspiration, innovation, and dedication. Collectively, the students, parents, faculty, and community partners have worked very, very hard to earn this distinction. ECHS enrolls approximately 340 students in grades 9 through 12, and this is a repeat award as they earned this award in 2014 as well. ECHS graduates received more than $8 million in scholarship awards last year, with over 80% of the graduating class earning an associate degree of arts and science. So congratulations to Principal Timothy Isley, the teachers, the students, and the staff for receiving this incredible award. Mr. Isley, would you please come forward? Congratulations again. And that concludes our special recognitions. Thank you.
Our next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Chapman?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. To start the report, I want to talk two things. One, you have the annual portfolio in front of you, so you have a nice printed copy. And this is just to give a detail of the board goals that you had set, and then all the standards and everything that CFB met based on those standards for the entire 1920 school year. And so you'll get an annual report every year. And this is, so just wanted to make sure that you had this in hand. Number two, we're spending a lot of time right now talking with legislators, because as you know, the 87th legislative session is coming very soon in January. And what I would really like to do, I've been a part of 4 different statewide committees, and also working with some other districts and looking at their legislative priorities. I would love if we could get maybe a group, subgroup of board members and work on those. We can present back to the entire board at the December 3rd board meeting. I think that would be great. Or we could work on it at another time. But I've got a lot of information, a lot of detail. I've got a consistent priority list from the different organizations, and I feel very strongly that we as CFBISD need to make a stand on here's the priorities that we have for this 87th legislative session. And so I hope that you'll think about that, consider it. I'd really like to do something and move this work forward, because it's here, it's right around the corner. So if you don't mind thinking about that. As we move into the next item, we're going to have Mr. Bassett speak on a couple finance and investment policies, advisory services, etc.
Okay, so I spoke about this in our audit committee meeting, and for those that weren't in there, there were a couple, we did give you two items, copies of two items. The first one is reviewing the investment policy. And so there are some things that we want to do with the investment policy that we talked about so that we can be able to maximize our resources. And so those are summarized. So this is item 4L, and those are summarized at the just very front page. You can see the changes in the policies themselves deeper in the handout. But what we want to be able to do, the first one is to add municipals to our option of investments. We want to be able to invest in what other cities or counties or states are doing. They do issue a lot of debt, and so we want to be able to invest in those. And then we also wanted to extend the maturity out for the weighted average maturity. It gives us more flexibility because we have enough cash to be able to go a little bit farther out on the yield curve. So instead of having all of our maturities average out to half a year, we want to limit that to averaging out to a full year. And so, anyway, that's one of the changes that's been suggested to us. And then also, right now, we are limited to having any investment that we have to have a maturity of no more than 2 years. We want to be able to have the flexibility to go to 5 years because that does give us a chance to get more yield on the core of our fund balance that we feel really strong that we'll have for quite some time. So we won't have a lot of 5-year debt. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be good to have some, and that'll give us a chance on those investments to increase our yield. And that last bullet point is along those same lines, restricting the investments on debt service funds and capital funds to not be restricted by that 2 years. So that's what's going on in the investment policy. Okay, and that was something that we spoke with our potential new financial advisors on investments. Hilltop Securities is our current financial advisor. They help us with all the bond issues that we've had, and you've heard them in here speak before on behalf of the district, and they represent us whenever we go to market to sell bonds. But they also, if we had a separate contract with them, they also help us with investing our cash. We have our own tax office, we collect our own funds, and so it is good to be able to have professionals help us with those investment services as opposed to hiring our own treasurer. Other districts I've been in that were larger, we did have our own treasurer that we hired on staff as a staff person. I think it makes more sense for us to outsource that to a firm like Hilltop Securities. And we'll see how that goes for a while, and we'll see if we improve on our benchmarks, and we spoke about that in the investment committee. And so if it doesn't turn out that way, then we can talk about other options at that time. But that's the purpose of the other agenda item. So that the one on the investment policies was item 4L, and the one on the investment advisory services was 4R. The other things that are out there that are in our on the agenda is being able to add a couple other investment pools. It gives us the option to be able to diversify the short-term cash that we have. And all the investment pools, we can pull money back that next day. Okay, there's not a commitment to keep it there 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And so I want to have some more diversity, though, to just spread the risk around among the pools. And then some of the other things that are required by the Public Fund Investment Act is that the board approve the training sources that we provide, because of everybody that handles investments and cash in our district has to have 10 hours of public fund investment training every year. And so that's item 4K. And then we also have the investment officers, item 4M, because we've had turnover. I'm new, Dr. Duplessis is new. We have a new director of accounting that moved from somewhere else within our organization. We're the investment officers, and because we've had turnover, you have to approve those per the Public Fund Investment Act. And then lastly, one of the things you have to approve every year is just a list of broker-dealers. And the broker and dealers are the ones that we actually place the investments with, the ones that we'll be working with Hilltop Securities. We're going to place those investments with the brokers and dealers, and the board is asked to approve that list. And that's all per the Public Funds Investment Act. So I try to keep it short and sweet. I mean, there's a lot going on with these things, and it may be more confusing than it needs to be, but I'll be happy to take any questions.
Board members, are there any questions for Mr. Bassett? I think we appreciate, I thought it would be helpful to anyone in our listening audience to hear your update. I know the audit committee was able to ask questions earlier, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
Okay, next we want to talk about the current status of COVID and the impact that it has on our district. And to start that conversation, we're going to have Mr. Mersch and Ms. Lee.
President Klein, Dr. Chapman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the impact of COVID and our experiences. We want to bring out that on our website, we update it every day, and we have all the cases, the positive cases, since September the 8th. Just want to remind everybody how to get there, and just look at our awesome new website. It's so much better than what we had before. So you just go on the left-hand side, and you look at information and resources, click on that. It'll take you to our COVID-19 information page, and you'll see the links on the right where you have COVID-19 dashboard. You have our back-to-school reentry plan. It goes all the way down to our safety protocols and procedures. So basically anything you ever wanted to know about what we're doing on COVID is on our website. So we'll look at the COVID-19 dashboard. And it's broken down by elementary, middle, high, our centers, and district staff. And you'll see staff cases, and this is since September the 8th, and it's cumulative. So staff cases are 34, student cases are 44 at elementary. In middle school, staff cases 15, student cases 24. High schools, staff cases 12, student cases 55. Our centers, we have 5 staff cases and 1 student case. In our district staff, we have 12 cases. So what we do is every morning we evaluate all the data coming in. We have very extensive spreadsheets, pivot tables, so we're monitoring this. We're monitoring 14-day averages. And I will go back to the PowerPoint, give you a little data on the staff.
And please note, those cases are traditional in-person learners, okay? We're not virtual learners because they're at home. These are in-person, in our school individuals.
What you have before you is the staff data, and there's just a few data points that we use and evaluate every morning. And this is just a snapshot, and it's just like Mr. Bassett would tell you, it's like a balance sheet. It's just a picture in time, and it changes, and it will be different in the morning. So all staff quarantines, as of this morning when we ran the data, we currently have 106 staff members that are quarantined. We currently have 60 teachers that are quarantined. Our 14-day average is 4. And what's interesting about this and looking at the data and the shifts, it is the range is, and we look at it so as far as the staff, and specifically the teacher, quarantine data ranges from 1% to 4% on any given day. And interesting enough, last week when we're evaluating data and we have specific criteria where we have campuses that are on our watch list, and we had 2 campuses on the watch list, and because of the 14 days that transpired for the quarantine period, when we look at the data this week, they're no longer on the list. They had 5 quarantined each last week. This week, those 5 came off, and now they have 0. It's just interesting to see that data and how that fluctuates. Talk a little bit about the tracking process. So it all starts on the campus with the campus nurse, and when they have the information about a quarantine, they complete the notification form. It is then sent to personnel, which includes the quarantine reason, quarantine time, and then personnel enters the information in the spreadsheet. And then the employee contact is the next piece. Personnel contacts the employee to follow up, validate all the information, and then reviews the quarantine period and provides COVID leave information if necessary, and then conducts additional tracing. The next is the leave process, which the leave is then sent to payroll for processing. And then the notification update, personnel receives notification update from the nursing department on negative results, symptomatic, end of quarantine period, which consists of a positive quarantine, exposure, or travel, or even a child care. And then the extend the quarantine if necessary. And then personnel updates the information on the spreadsheet. And then the last piece in this process is the return to work. Personnel reviews updated notification and begins return to duty process. This is all electronic, and it's done via DocuSign. And part of that is just trying to speed up the process, and obviously in the COVID times, we're all trying to keep our distance. The employee completes the document, and personnel receives automatic notification of completion. Personnel emails campus or the department supervisor to return to work has been cleared. And now we want to talk about the student data, and I will turn this over to Ms. Leak.
Thank you. So our student data so far, in September we had 51 cases, in October 118, and in November 8. So the 14-day average would be 52 student cases, and that comes out to about 3.7 cases per day. So the contact tracing process goes as follows. Once we have a positive case reported to the nurse will then interview that person, whether it's a student and a parent or an employee, and we use the CDC definition of a close contact, someone who is within 6 feet of an infected person for a cumulative total of 15 minutes or more over a 24-hour period. And then we, of course, go 2 days prior to symptom onset because that's considered the period of time when the person is contagious. And we make sure that the person that tests positive goes home to isolate for 10 days. And any contacts that are listed by the individuals are sent home to quarantine per CDC guidelines. And they go on remote learning during that time, whether if they're a student and if they're a teacher, they are able to work at home if they feel well enough to do so. Once the period is coming to an end, we call and check with that person to make sure that they are feeling well enough to return to school or work.
Let me mention one thing. So one thing, and I put this in a memo probably 2 Fridays ago. You know, this changed when we talked about 15 minutes. So cumulative, at first it was 15 consecutive. So I mean, you're standing there 15 minutes with them. Now it's, even if it's a minute and you leave and then 2 minutes and then 5 minutes, that changed. And so that's why you've seen maybe a change in our numbers. So it's not something that CFB and the nursing staff or the superintendent changed. This is something that came from CDC, and that change was made again. And it's only been around maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, not very long. So just FYI.
Our data, so what can you glean from the data? So our positive cases appear to be coming mainly from social and family events like funerals and weddings, also college students returning home because many colleges are remote, and in addition to that, surrounding some athletic events. We have not seen spread within the classroom setting that we're able to glean from our data at this point. And then as far as tracking cases, we have been assigned a liaison with the Dallas County Health Department, and so we consult with this person regarding any questions we have regarding contact tracing, isolation, or quarantining of staff or students. We are following CDC guidelines with fidelity and following their recommendations from the Health Department. We report all of our cases as required by law to the Health Department and TEA. And then I'll turn it back over to Mr. Marsh.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. One of the challenges also created by COVID, or as a result of COVID, is our substitute situation. We've had a dramatic decrease in the amount of people who are willing to be a substitute. It's compounded by the problem of when a teacher is quarantined, The vast majority of them can still teach remotely, and they can teach that class. But the kids are at school for the traditional, but their teacher's not there, so we still have to have someone in the classroom with them. So that has created a challenge. So in response to that, there's two strategies that are going to be implemented effective this coming Monday. And that's to temporarily increase the subpay from the standard daily rate of $100 to temporary supplement for a total of $150 per day. And that's the immediate gratification short-term strategy. And the next is more of the long-term strategy. And that's in which employees, as you can see here, if they work 40 to 59 days, will get an additional $20 per day. 60 to 89 would be $35 per day. 90-plus days would be $55 per day. And they would get that in one lump sum in July.
So something that TEA has made available to us is a COVID rapid testing project. They're providing school districts with some flexibility to use Abbott Laboratories Binex Now test. They're being provided by the state and federal government as our laws require. They're partnering, it's a partnership with Dallas County or Department of State Health Services, and the Texas Department of Emergency Management. The objective is to keep schools safe and open for in-campus instruction by deploying these rapid tests. So this would allow us to conduct tests on campus and use these tests as an additional screening tool for any teachers or that are symptomatic, that have symptoms that are suggestive of COVID, and hopefully prevent the virus from coming on the campus in the first place. They also provide another source of testing to which we can use to quickly respond to any individual before they spread the virus upon the campus. So if we have someone that that tests positive and they have had contact with other people on the campus, we can test those people and hopefully limit the spread on the campus. So this particular test has been evaluated in one study of 102 patients with symptoms for fewer than 7 days, and it was compared to the PCR test. So there has been some information out in the media regarding the accuracy of the antigen test. So this antigen test was compared with the PCR test, and this study showed a 97.1% true positivity or sensitivity and a specificity of 98.5%. So it showed to be very accurate when compared with the PCR test.
And we've got 3 sections of COVID conversation. So this is section 1. If you would like to ask questions about this part, then we're going to move into two more sections of COVID talk.
Ms. Derrick?
Ms. Lee, can you speak to the rapid testing and when we believe that will start?
We have been, we had initially been told 2 to 3 weeks the test would be delivered, but we did hear today that they may be delivered as soon as tomorrow afternoon. Of course, we do have to train our nursing staff before we can utilize those tests, and so I hope to be able to accomplish that fairly quickly, maybe within a week. So that's the only steps that we would have to complete before we could use the test.
Any other questions? Mr. Gibranes?
Not really a question, but a comment. I think it's creative what y'all are doing to try to encourage more substitutes to participate so that can relieve some pressure on the staff. Thank you.
We'll really hone in on what else we're doing with our staff in just a moment. So that's just one little piece. Is that it?
Thank you.
Okay, next. Thank you all very much.
I just want to take this opportunity to commend Ms. Leek for all that she's doing and what the nurses are doing. It's just incredible what they've had to put themselves through, and they're still trying to do their normal duties, but they're having to spend so much time doing the tracing and supporting on the COVID piece. I just want to take this opportunity, and I'm glad you looked over to remind me, Dr. Chapman, to tell Ms. Leak what a great job she's doing, and we just want to do that publicly and especially in front of you, Board of Trustees, because we appreciate your support.
Thank you.
I was going to make a joke and said, I didn't know Miss Leak very much, but now she calls me and texts me multiple times a day, and we're like best friends. Okay, at this time, we're going to have Dr. West talk a little bit more about the counseling services, the professional support, incentives that were given to our staff, etc.
I was excited to talk to you earlier because I was going to I was talking about data about our students, but I'm also excited to speak to you to just remind you about the fact that you all approved the supplemental pay that we'll all get in our checks in November, and that's definitely a big boost because people have been working over and above, and so that's such a nice perk for our staff, and we're all looking forward to that. The other thing that that I wanted to talk to you about is just the fact that this is hard, y'all. I mean, not only is it hard for our staff to be figuring out remote and traditional, it's also hard for our administrative staff each morning to figure out, to think about covering classes because life goes on. Not every absence is always about COVID. We have people that have doctor's appointments or leave or do different things. So one of the things that we decided to do is the folks that are our professional staff that support learning. We decided all of us to start not just the professional staff that supports learning, also people that are at this office, but we decided to every day start at a campus. So we called it the draft, and we said to everybody that we were like, you are a first draft pick, and you get to go start your day at a campus. So every single day, all of us are going out and starting our day at a campus. What this does is it provides visual support for our principals and the staff to see that all of us are there. But more importantly, it provides them an opportunity to do the work of covering those classes. So while I'm monitoring the kids that are waiting in cafeteria or whatever, the principal, assistant principal, and the other staff at the campus can be figuring out about how do we, how many substitutes are coming, how can we cover. Also, our teachers have really stepped up. Not only are they taking on the remote and traditional, but we also, as a part of an incentive to them, is that if we don't have classes covered, the teachers will cover other people's classes, and they get a little bump in pay for doing that. But I want to tell you that a lot of teachers, I believe, would be doing that anyway, because back to that our teachers really do care about our students and want to make sure the best professional is in front of them. This really is an all hands on deck effort, and just another reminder of what you all have done for us also is just the sick leave bank. We've been able to, as people are out, because of anything related to the quarantines and the different things that we've had to do, we've been able to cover those so that people don't have to be drawing into their own sick leave or it's a financial thing for them. So that's another thing that you all have done to support. As far as our numbers, you know that before we would say that there were 60% of our kids that were remote and 40 traditional. It was really at a 59% remote and 41% traditional. And then at the first 9 weeks when students came back, it just changed 10%. So 10% more were back. So we're now at the 51% of our students are traditional and 49% of our students are remote. Didn't change a whole lot. We did add some students in, and we were glad to do that because we feel like when they're in our classrooms, it's definitely a really good way to educate them.
And-
The counseling services, that's what I was about to forget that. Educators, we love to be around our kids, we love to be around our colleagues, and a lot of COVID is not allowing us to do all the things that we feel like we're good at or that we do well. And so our counseling team has also set up counseling, and they connect. They work with our staff too to allow them to talk and to meet and to do all those things, but also set our folks up with our employee assistance program and other things, because as I said earlier, this is just hard. Each day when I get to Perry Middle School as a part of my draft, me being a first draft pick, I've started joking with the group that I hang around with. We're the coffee club. We're all there trying to be the smiling, welcoming people to our staff and our kids, and just trying to make the best of a not fun situation. But we do thank you for your support, and again, I would be remiss if I didn't say, man, if you know a teacher or you know an administrator, please give them a air hug, because you can't touch them, or a virtual high five in some way, because they really are stepping up to educate our kids.
Board members, do you have any questions for Dr. West? Ms. Derrick?
So I think the elephant in the room is, do we have enough staff?
It has been, it's been really good. We put together a Google Doc because I wanted to know, as we sent out staff, like how many people were being utilized. And overwhelmingly, most of us just show up and we're there like an hour as they're trying to get classes covered, or and as we watch kids. So we've been doing really well with that.
We deploy over 160 professional staff each day to those campuses. You know, like get to drink coffee, but ask Mr. Malcolm here, he had to be a substitute all day today. And so we had a board meeting, we're like, man, we need you over here, get busy. But he was subbing and covering a class. And so we have a lot of that. So we believe with the professional staff and us being there if they need us, with paying the teachers that extra pay, because a lot of them want to cover some of those classes and do it in-house, with our paraprofessionals and some of the support staff on the campus covering that. And then now on top of that, us paying $150 for our substitutes. These are just enough ways that we're going to make sure that we're covering to make sure that those kids are getting an education each and every day.
And it's been good professional development. I had one of our draft folks thank me and said, you know, that put me in a situation where I had to see what it was like to try to teach remotely and teach traditionally, and said that really helped me think about my job. And she's a professional developer and how she supports folks. But now I'm sort of worried. Nobody's allowed me to go into the classroom, but they've allowed Malcolm, so I'm worried that they don't trust me.
What's the screening criteria?
Or be careful what you wish for.
Mr. Ramos?
I guess thanks for doing that and coming up with the creative methods to try to figure out how we can, again, try to get more substitute teachers. Because I understand if you guys are covering, I'm sure there's still your own daily tasks and goals and checks and balances that we have to be in regulation with TEA. So again, thank you for coming up with that creative method to see if we can't encourage more substitutes to participate in our districts. I do have a question though regarding like campuses. Is there any particular campus that might be an outlier with regards to what they're doing to either have lower results, or they unfortunately have had higher test results? And have we learned anything from any of those particular campuses?
No, this virus is unknown, and so we don't have any, ideas of what's happened. Today was the first day, that we actually had to close a campus, and closing that campus was not due to positive cases. So let me be very clear: it was due to the number of quarantines and having to cover that. And so we had to hit that threshold. But it's so random and sporadic. But I will say this, and Ms. Leak mentioned this, Dr. Wong, CDC's mentioned this, the Commissioner of Education said this again today, that what we're seeing in CFB along across the other districts across the state of Texas, we are not seeing our district's campuses being a spread. This is coming from an outside source. And so our due diligence on washing hands, wearing masks, having face shields, being 6 feet apart is actually working through this time. But it's just random. So and we can go back and trace and depend on who had an event or had a social gathering or had this, then you'll see a collection of cases. So it's just.
I can't wait till we get those test results, because then that will help a lot. So.
Next.
Okay, so now we're going to have Mr. Maroney come up and talk about our cleaning processes, our summary, to address the other questions that arose.
And what school was Mr. Mulroney at today?
I was at Blaylock.
Oh, okay.
7th grade science, which was an education into itself.
Was it virtual, was it traditional and remote?
Yes, ma'am.
And how was your technical skills on that?
That I was good with. It was the content. My biology is not as strong as I wish it was.
How about your accent?
Between that and the mask, it was a bit challenging. And one of the main reasons I get to sub is because of an incredible team over in the operations side of the house. And we've really pushed relationships and building those relationships and taking individual responsibility down to the campus level. This is not a control mechanism. To answer Mr. Remmers, there's so many different things going on. So we really rely on a key relationship between our head custodian, our principal, and the nurse. And you'll see what we talk about this evening is really about those three pieces playing very closely together. And at the head of that relationship is actually Mr. Felix Wynn, who will be recognized this evening. He goes around, he's got the North Districts, that's north of Beltline, so the Creekview and Smith feeder patterns. And in fact, coming from Blaylock, they sent us a lovely email saying how much they appreciated him making it to the campuses before the problems arose. So even though we're going and reacting to all of these, we're also making time to get to campuses, build our relationships with our folks. And so that's what you see in that first bar there, that green bar. Tracing indicates contact of a contact or some symptoms came about, but there's no confirmed cases. So there's nothing to react to yet. But this is the everyday kind of stuff that we're talking about, from our staff members keeping socially distanced with the markers on the floor and organizing their classrooms, to the buckets, bottles, and rags that we spoke about so much at the kickoff of the year, which folks are still using, to our custodial staff reacting to situations, going around all the time, cleaning common touch points, making sure that the hand sanitizers are full, things like that. So that happens all the time, and it's difficult to celebrate a single moment of that or highlight a moment of that because it's just ongoing all the time. And that's fatiguing. As Dana said, this is hard. And so to keep building on those relationships and motivating folks as we can is important. Once we have a positive confirmed case, we enter into that orange bracket. That tells us that, hey, we've got something here that is lab confirmed positive case. That's where our nurse kicks in and she does her tracing and starts to identify areas that we can respond to. Once those areas are identified, you'll see that there's this form here that says closed, disinfecting, and there's a couple of initial boxes for accountability on that. So the nurse identifies the rooms that need to be closed and marks up the closure tags. The secretary enters a work order, and that notifies Felix and Mr. Victor Melton that, hey, we need to watch this campus. So if they needed extra resources on that campus, if they need to work overtime, we're going to deploy anything that's necessary to meet whatever the nurse needs at that moment. So then the nurse goes around and closes the areas off because, of course, we don't want folks going in there. And this is where things get a little tricky. There is a 24-hour window to air out the rooms, but that's dependent on HVAC, when the custodians can get there, and a whole number of things. So you may be hearing some of that as, oh, this area is closed for 24 hours. It's not. It's a window of time to get our crew in there to get it reopened. So they can go in right away and disinfect, and we can actually have that room back within the hour if we have the resources. Now, we've got multiple cases, multiple campuses, multiple folks out. Might be a little bit longer. So that's really that window. Once the crew's been through, though, they mark the door tags. So the nurse initials the door tag for closure. The custodian who cleans it initials it. The nurse re-initials it and takes the tag down. So nobody removes that tag until the nurse has blessed that room. Adds that to the work order, closes it out. So if somebody says, what happened at this positive case? we can go back and trace the area, who went to it. Our crew also takes photographs just to support us in that so that we know we address that concern. And like I said, once that work order is entered, that allows us to run overtime if we need it, send additional crews, move folks around, anything that's necessary to get that nurse what she needs. The last category that you see is the red, and that's where it gets tricky, and that's where the tracing really becomes difficult. That's where we can't find the tracing, or it goes into an expanded area that starts to impact the campus. Large quarantines start to happen in this category. So that really becomes challenging. Fortunately, as Dr. West recognized, our folks have done so well with seating charts, bus seating charts, keeping the social distance. I like to joke and say break the trace. They are not allowing that thing to run rampant through the campus. So once we have the positive case, we can identify where it is, respond with our disinfectants, with our cleaning crews, and keep it contained to that. However, we've got to imagine that situation. So we have a red category. And that takes us to a link over to the website, because we're going to move out of the custodial services there a little bit and into some district items, back to that website that Mr. Mosh mentioned. And we go down to, there we go, it's policies, procedures. There we go. And right here at the top is the decision-making chart as well as the back-to-school item. So the decision-making chart was adopted at the beginning of school, and it follows a similar mentality. So you can see the facility service response wasn't made up in the dark. It was made up in support of this same document. This has a little more information and a little bit made for much more complicated than our simple reaction chart. So the first thing that you have here is you have your lab confirmed case, and then you're going into your tracing exercise again with your nurses. Again, if you can do that easily, if it's easily traced, you're going to stay in these upper brackets. As that tracing becomes more complicated, you're going to move down and have to do more work, clean more sections of the building, quarantine more folks, isolate more areas, things like that. You will see, again, the 24-hour comes up here, and you'll hear quite a lot about that. That is based on the airflow in the rooms and how quickly we can get staff in there to clean it. Again, it's a window, it's not a hard from point A plus 24 hours, because all the ventilation is different, what we can do with ventilation is different, how quickly we can get our custodial teams is different. So some folks have been harping on that 24 hours. It's more of a window, and you have to understand the parameters that drive it. Next down, we'll see the expanded for more cases that are unrelated, and expanded tracing for cases that are not related. And again, you can see how that starts to recommend closures depending on what you find from that tracing exercise. The last is some definitions, and of course the airflow rates for that HVAC equipment that dictates the 24 hours. And with that concludes Facility Services response to COVID.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Mulroney about middle school science or
No.
disinfection?
I was a coach for the first period.
And which kind of coaching was that?
I was very blessed. The coaches covered for us so that I could make my bus cameras meeting and my bus radios meeting at 9:30, and then I had the kids back at just was it 9:45. So
Looks like the board doesn't have any questions for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The last two things to wrap up on the superintendent report is, so board elections, it was Tuesday night, and talking to the elections clerk, normally we're celebrating two people right now and saying, congratulations, you two won, and welcome to the team. We're not going to get the final results until probably November 16th or 17th, and so we're just sitting and waiting. We do have a group of board members that will canvass the votes on November 17th at noon. So we'll see where we are, but it's a little unusual. That's why we haven't made any announcements, because we were told they're still unofficial until further notice. So please know that. And the last thing is, which was really exciting, I love having service awards and telling CFB people thank you for your loyalty and your dedication to the district. But we had to go make some visits, and so what was cool last Friday on the 30th, we got to go and celebrate a number of people with 40 years, 35 years, tell them they get a very nice check in December. But for those 35 and 40 years, I gave them a watch with has a CFB logo in the center. I'll tell you what, Malcolm did it all with a 40-year, and they gave him another award, and we had a little brunch for him. It was exceptional, and so I appreciate that. And so we had several of those, and then went across the district, and I gave out another dozen to administrators that had 15-plus years experience with the district. So again, couldn't have that nice sit-down meal. Y'all hand out the checks. It is what it is during these times. So we made the best that we could out of it. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Looks like our next item is CFB Way.
Well, tonight we're very excited and pleased to introduce you to our first recipient of the Together We Can Award for Excellence in Customer Service. Sponsored by Chick-fil-A and the district, this award was created to acknowledge employees that go up and beyond to extend excellent customer service, as well as serve as a role model for other employees. So congratulations to Felix Nguyen. He's with the custodian team, and he serves as a custodian team captain with the facilities department. He is our first recipient of this award, and you can tell by the picture on the screen, Chick-fil-A gave him some awesome goodies and some gift cards and gift certificates. So we'd like to honor him and ask that he please come forward at this time. And Mr. Nguyen, your supervisor, is also here, Mr. Maroney, and he has a special gift that he would like to share with you as well.
So one of the changes that we've made is putting the custodial and maintenance folks in the same house so that they can work together cohesively. So when the maintenance guys heard that Felix was getting recognized, they wanted to create the Silver Spray Bottle Award.
Congratulations again. At this time, we would like to honor a very special person to us, and that is our board president, Miss Nancy Klein. And we want to recognize her for her years of service to the district. And I want to read a few of her accomplishments to you, as I'm sure many of you are aware of these, but Ms. Klein has served as a member of the Board of Trustees for 15 years and is a two-time president. She has successfully led the district through a bond and TRE. Ms. Klein is a graduate of the Leadership TASB program through the Texas Association of School Boards. Participants are selected for this program who have demonstrated leadership in their local district and communities and for their representation of diversity in their school district. Ms. Klein is also a lifetime member at Blaylock Middle School. She is passionate about our schools and regularly visits campuses, reads to students, attends football games and special events. Mrs. Klein's 3 children are graduates of Creekview High School. We want to thank you, Nancy, for your commitment to the students and staff of CFBISD for these past 15 years. We're grateful for you. We're appreciative of your time and the talent that you've devoted to our district. And we know your husband's here with you as well. And thank you to him for his time that he's committed. Congratulations on your time with us. Next, under CFB Way, we have another award to present, and that's for the CFB Parents Association for Gifted and Talented, and they have received the 2020 Parent Group of the Gifted Award for their exceptional efforts in supporting the advancement of gifted students. CFB's AGT Parent Association has a 40-plus year legacy of advocating and supporting educators and gifted families. It is the longest sustained parent organization dedicated to serving the needs of the gifted. Their advocacy has supported the increased gifted identification of students in CFB to above 10% of our total student body, with impressive increases in demographic groups that have been least likely to be served. When COVID struck, AGT was ready to jump into action. AGT offered free memberships, and CFB parents eagerly joined the AGT membership, and it jumped up over 500% in a single year. Over the summer, CFB's gifted families were able to participate in virtual connections, events, academic adventures, and just for fun, evening antics that they had scheduled. Under the leadership of President Sharon Escher, AGT's mission extended to increase visibility to our school board and community partners. So tonight we honor the AGT Parent Association for their leadership and contribution to our families and their partnership with the Advanced Academic Department. To accept on behalf of AGT is the President, Sharon Escher. And finally, tonight, we would like to recognize a very special family. As you may know, Casey's Run was established benefiting CFBISD's Special Olympics and was named in loving memory of Casey Breckus, a 2003 graduate of R.L. Turner High School. Since her tragic death in 2003, her parents, Candy and Mel Breckus, have benevolently and generously served as the title and presenting sponsor of Casey's Run. Their annual contributions make it possible for the All-Star Special Olympics program in CFB to continue to serve our students with development and intellectual disabilities. Casey's Run 2020 was intended to stand apart from our previous events as we honored the legacy of Casey's beloved grandmother, Teddy Frederick. She attended the run every year and other events honoring Casey. She was a fixture at the finish line, always dressed in pink, and always cheering those running in Casey's memory. The family of Casey Breckus, Candy and Mel, exceeded their annual contributions in 2020 by making two significant purchases for our All-Stars in Teddy's memory: a van for transporting equipment and other supplies, as well as new spring uniforms for our entire team of over 280 athletes. Although we were never able to host the event in 2020, we were abundantly grateful for the unwavering and immeasurable support of this family and for their contributions to the district, which in total amount to $64,000. Thank you to this family for their caring spirit and for their love of CFBISD. They are not here physically with us tonight, but we could not go without recognizing them for this contribution. As you can see their picture, let's just give them a round of applause. And Dr. Chapman, that ends our CFB Way.
Thank you. Our next item is our PTA update.
Hi, I am Beth Zeinert, and I am the 4th VP of Fundraising for our Council PTA. I'm here tonight to give you a few updates about our CFB PTAs. First, I would like to thank all of you who have become PTA champions by joining several of our PTAs at once. Our most recent champions are Nancy Klein, Jessica Knox, Patty Parker, Neely Clark, and Joe Gillen. Thank you for your tremendous support of our PTA. Anyone else who wishes to support and become a PTA champion by supporting several PTAs at once can do so by going to the CFB website and clicking on the PTA tab. Many of our local PTAs have been hard at work hosting spirit nights, organizing scavenger hunts around the town, and their most important responsibility, constantly feeding the staff members. They continue to look for new and creative ways to gain members and to support our schools and our communities amid this very different year. One way our council PTA will be supporting our community this month is with a Thanksgiving food drive. The council PTA will be placing collection boxes at every school on Monday, November the 9th, and asking for food donations, including items such as the canned soups, rice, pasta, sugar, and flour. The drive will end on November 13th, and the items collected at the schools will be delivered to the MetroQuest services for their family or their Thanksgiving meal. I'm also pleased to report to the entire school board that every one of our school PTAs has achieved active status this year. And that's very exciting because every campus then was eligible to participate in our PTA Reflections contest. They'll be spending most of November judging the entries from our students and then submitting the top 20% to our council PTA Reflections contest. Once the district awards are decided upon, then they will be moved to the Texas PTA competition. So very exciting opportunity for our artists throughout the district. Mark your calendars for January the 14th. We're going to be having a virtual Reflections celebration via Zoom, and we'd like for you all to be there to help celebrate our artists. I would be remiss as the VP of Fundraising if I didn't mention our World Wear bins that you may have seen located at B. Salazar and at the Marie Huey Center. Your fabric donations, including items such as clothing, linens, towels, purses, shoes, stuffed animals, all help to go fund council PTA programs such as the Reflections Contest, as well as our PTA training and senior scholarships. Another way to support the council PTA is through business donors who make donations, and then we add their logo to our website. Please go to our website and you can see the donors who have generously already given this year. Again, thank you for your support of PTA, and we look forward to seeing you on January 14th, which again is our next delegate meeting and an opportunity to hold our reflection ceremony in honor of our student artists. Thank you.
We really appreciate our PTA. They really help our staff they help support our staff. We appreciate Dr. Chapman and all his staff and all their reports that they've given us to update us on everything. We are here to really celebrate our kids, so that was exciting. I think you're supposed to announce the artwork, right? Or is that, am I interrupting you?
You are, but
Okay,
you're on a roll. So.
And then we'll let you announce the artwork.
Yeah, so this is the second half of the 2019-2020 CFB annual contest winners. Last month was the first half, here's the second half. So if you get a chance, look at the outstanding artwork that our children did during 1920.
It looks like some Zoom calls going on a couple of them.
We didn't know what Zoom was back then during this time.
They're kind of like this. That's what I find myself doing. I really appreciate our AGT people to go along with our PTA. And but the students are, Ms. Hrabacek mentioned we really like celebrating our students' achievements. So thank you, Dr. Chapman, for bringing us these items. Does the board want to take a break? They're sitting here looking speechless. No comment. So we'll go ahead and take a break before audience for guests, unless y'all want to keep rolling. What y'all prefer? Okay, we'll keep going. So the next item on the agenda is item number 3, audience for guests. Ms. Castanon, are there any in-person requests for this item?
No, we do not have any.
Okay. So our next item is item number 4, consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to approve a number of routine items together with a single vote. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes the list of all consent agenda items, and the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, board members may request withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. Board members, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this time? Mr. Ramos.
Consent agenda item 4F.
Okay, so we have a request to pull item 4F. Does the board want to take any action on the consent agenda? Ms. Hrabacek.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the removal of item 4F as in Frank.
So we have a motion by Ms. Hrabacek, second by Ms. Derrick. Is Is there any discussion? We had some good information presented to us earlier on a lot of these items. So, all those in favor? So that's 6 in favor and none opposed. So, non-action items for discussion. Oh no, it's Mr. Mulroney again. 5A, non-action items is Mr. Mulroney, construction update. And I want to know what we discussed in science today. Did you tell them about, like, you know, what lime and dirt does together or anything?
Well, they were doing biology and plant studies.
Oh.
So I decided to talk about school design and collaboration spaces.
Not disinfection?
We did that too.
Oh.
We got the bottles, buckets, and rags out, and we played with that because, you know, nothing like being in the classroom and getting to see how it all works and spray the desk shields and
Yeah, see how easy
have the
that
hand,
is.
yeah, hand sanitizers out and so forth. All right. Good evening, Dr. Chapman, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to give a construction update. Over at the Athletic Fields project, we've completed the football fields and we were working on the softball, baseball at Creekview and Ranchview. And I'm delighted to show that we have completed the project on budget and on time. We expected an October completion, and the folks over at Hellas have done an absolutely phenomenal job keeping our sites clean and tidy and delivering everything as promised. So here's a quick view of Ranchview, which received bleachers as well as dugouts to bring them on level with all the other facilities that we have. So now all 4 of our facilities have the built-up wraparound bleachers and built-up backstops. And you can see the 3 fields over at Ranchview together there. This is going to increase their time. If you remember, we were losing hundreds of days of practice time to wet fields, not only when the rain was falling, but also waiting for it to dry out, as well as mud gushing into the dugouts and all the other hassles that go along with that. So making these upgrades is really going to impact a lot of students and increase that play time and make us kids competitive. Creekview was right on in line with that as well. Their bleachers and dugouts already were brick and built up, so here we're just replacing the surfaces, but you can see the baseball and softball as well as that football field that was completed as well. In addition to that, we also have this wonderful branding opportunity, so now working in with our feeder patterns to bring those younger students up so that they come and play at these facilities and start to become, you know, a Mustang as they move through the ranks and really aspire to become a high school Mustang and play for that team. That identification and that loyalty to their campus is just vital to the growth and the whole spirit of things. Over on the bond side, McCorda Elementary is wrapped up. We've got the branding up, and we'd like to invite you to a reveal on November 10th at 6 p.m. That'll be after the Sheffield groundbreaking. There's an invite in the pack as well for that. So we'll go over to the Sheffield groundbreaking and then move over to McCorta. We will be requiring temperature checks, disinfecting, cleaning hands, and wearing masks. We're going to have folks taking tours through of 10 or less people, and so it's going to be some waiting outside if there's a bit of a crowd, but we'll funnel folks through in a kind of a path, and then you'll go in one door and out another, so you're not looping back on anybody, and we'll have our custodial and maintenance crews are supporting us in that process as well. So quite the endeavor, but it's 2020 and the show must go on, so we will do the reveal there and see what McCourt's got in store for us. Over at Vivian Field, we're coming through construction. The folks there have been phenomenal. Chad and his, not only are they dealing with COVID and online, remote, traditional teaching, they have an active construction site. So there's a look at their courtyard, which we have completely ripped apart. We're going to dig down new drainage in there, and you can see the new posts that are going to go in. That's that wonderful canopy that wraps around the exterior, giving shade to the building, as well as a place to go when it's hot, and then that artificial turf field, turf section in the middle, so that kids can have some space. We're also opening up the courtyard. These windows are going to be turned into double sets of doors that open up to a 6th grade flex lab. There's also a 7th grade flex lab and some other doors that open up as you wrap around, really making that courtyard accessible and a part of the campus culture rather than a place nobody goes. We know that having visibility into courtyards and getting traffic there, that's what keeps it alive. It also keeps it safe. Looking at the construction itself, you can see the focus of our construction has been here in the heart of the campus because we wanted to start in the hardest bit first. So with the courtyard going on, this classroom pack right here is under active construction. We're also moving that entryway. Remember, it's over here down by the gym, splitting. A principal was on this side and student services was on this side. So we're bringing that up together so it's all in one place. That new entry is going to be open after winter break, and then we're going to be changing over the construction. But let's go have a look and see what they're doing inside there. So they say a renovation, you rip it down to the studs. Well, we went down to the dirt. There were 3 or 4 different floor levels going on, and 50 years of add-ons and extras and just growth. So we take this opportunity to cut it all open. Jackson Construction has been phenomenal. I mean, these guys pulled in 20-foot sections of I-beams to re-brace up the roof to accommodate the open spans and things like that. It is certainly nothing like new construction. Plus, so they've gone down, laid down new footings, new foundation. You can see that going in here. That means piping in the concrete to fill all those concrete beams in, all happening after hours, of course. And then we get a new floor, and we're going to be building this area back up. So where we said we wanted that natural light to come inside of the classroom, well, you got to cut the roof open. So great opportunity to fly some drones and see what it looks like. So here this was this week, they actually cut these roofs open. If you remember over at Landry where we lifted at what we call a clear story, we're going to create that clear story view in these called quad pods. That's 4 classrooms around a collaboration space, and there's 3 per grade level, so 6 altogether. And there you can see that connection of the quad pods down into that wonderful courtyard. On the left, you'll see the rendering of what it will look like, and on the right, you'll see the roof being cut open. So very exciting times over at Vivian Field. The other thing that was over at Vivian Field, and it was just maybe my own pet peeve, was this dogleg corridor. It never went straight, and we were told it can't be straightened. Well, it was very satisfying to see a guy go with a sledgehammer at the wall and start to open that up. So the new design, we will be straightening that corridor because no is not an option. That actually leads to this wonderful moment that has visibility into the library, which is this big curved wall, as well as the courtyard just off to the left-hand side. Again, activating that courtyard, becoming a real hub for the campus. Construction schedule-wise, we're going to be wrapping up this area in December, in which case the folks are going to be taking over another section. These folks will be moving over to the portables, and the folks in the portables will be able to move into their new area, as well as that administration will move over to that new administration location after the winter break. So very busy Christmas for the Jackson team, but they're tracking well. They've delivered on their promises, so I'm confident that they'll keep tracking that way. Over at Turner High School, Jackson doesn't slow down one bit. We've finished up the biomed, the front entry, and the special ed suites, A, B, and C. And now we're focusing on these purple areas, which is the 2 courtyards, the one by the library and the main courtyard, as well as the cosmetology and auto shop. That will run us through the spring, and then into the spring we'll be opening up the Pride Lands area. Remember that pedestrian mall covered area to give that real life CTE experience, as well as that's got the vet med, welding, and floral programs there. Over in the courtyard, that's a good view there. You can see similar design to Vivian Field. We have a boardwalk, raised concrete boardwalk around the perimeter of it with a canopy and a large artificial turf section in the middle, giving somewhat of that university kind of sophisticated look to the campus, a nice way to dress it up, as well as screening and creating shade for folks that want to be out in the courtyard during that time. This is the smaller courtyard over by the library. We wanted to open up and create these collaboration spaces in the campus. So right here, just off of your screen, there is a corridor, and that opens up to this space where kids can gather, and then that opens out to the courtyard. Here in the picture, you can see they've got that old wall completely ripped open, and they're pouring new concrete for the courtyard, as well as getting that space ready. Over in cosmetology, there wasn't enough large open space to have a good cosmetology suite, so Jackson did what seems to be doing best, takes walls out and builds new I-beams. So they opened up all these walls, braced it all off, and created this great big open space that will be that cosmetology suite. Right here you can see that receptionist counter, as well as the stations for the kids. New Sheffield has been busy as well, because, well, we got a lot going on right now. Jackson Construction is our contractor there. We've gone through demolition. We had our goodbye ceremony just a little while ago. Since then, they've demoed the building. This is going to be a LEED certified energy efficient building, and part of that is recycling the existing building. So all these materials are being divided into brick, metal, etc., and that's being carted off to different recycling plants. The new building will have energy standards as well as very efficient energy equipment on it. So here's the old foundation coming out. As you can see, they're starting to rip all that concrete out, separate all those metals, load those up into trucks and get them hauled off. And then December 10th at 5 p.m., we'll be doing our groundbreaking there. So we'll have a nice clean site ready to start the new building. Perry Middle School is well in its way of design. Perry Middle School will enter into construction in May of 21. So right now we're in what they call schematic design, and that's really starting to look at all the different things we want to do there. And again, all the existing programming has to go on. So we have to look at where the load-bearing walls are, where the existing electrical rooms are, as well as respecting a lot of the history. We found some of these great hand-drawn illustrations of the original facades so that we could start to see what needs to be restored. And it's very exciting. Some of these interior walls are going to get exposed again. So actually we're going to go after Thanksgiving and try and open up some of the walls to see what was left. They were covered up in the 80s, and we don't know how thoughtful they would have been of the original brick. So we're going to open them up, as well as that main corridor seems to be an original vaulted ceiling, but we want to get up there and see what we can salvage and what we can restore. Anything that can be restored back to its original condition will be restored. Looking at the site plan, part of the scope is, of course, is to do the 4-lane track as well as improve site circulation. As you can see, we're in that SD phase. We'll be running through construction documents in the early part of 21 and be into construction in May of 21. Here we are in some of the design meetings. We have met with every staff member at Perry, and we've been circling back as we go through pages and pages of trace, trying to figure out how do we fit all these new 22nd century needs into a 100-year-old building with the existing structure and so forth. We've also been doing some wonderful digging and finding old photographs and old yearbooks, again trying to do that historical search so that we can know what needs to be restored. Because what might seem historical is not always historical, and what's gone we can sometimes rebuild to respect that original building. Newman Smith is also deep in its design. LPA there has been working very hard. Newman Smith is a challenging project in the fact that it's about the same size as Turnip, but it's only a $25 million project. We have to do new roof, new mechanical, new fire alarm, bells, PA, cameras, all the high needs, and try to make a CTE renovation out of it. So it's a very big campus, and here you can see all the different years of construction. The blue is the original construction, and then we had expansion to the east, in number 2 here. Then we built on the auditorium, and so you can see this cobweb of different building types, different building ages, all going through. And that brings us around to what we're planning to do our work. We're going to focus in the library area and then build 3 CTE pods as you go back towards the student entry, and hopefully, if budget will allow us, improve the student entry as well. So we're at the point where we've isolated on the campus what we need to do. We have a wish list. It's several $1 million longer than our budget, and so we're starting to do the magic work of trying to pare it down, find the high dollar value items. What can we do? Because our mission is what we touch, we leave really exceptional. So when you walk the campus, you'll see that there'll be different areas that we've improved, and there's areas that we just can't get to in this budget. So that gives you a rough scope. These are some renderings of what the library could look like, subject to change. These are early renderings at the SD level. We're still doing budget exercises, but opening that library up so that it really becomes part of the campus culture, branding, as well as creating this hub that really lightens up that CTE function. And that wraps the construction update.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there any building you know of that's like Perry that somebody tried to do what you're doing? I'm trying to visualize.
No.
That's what I was wondering. So
We have done a number of small additions over the years. Typically, they would have been the historical and then a large addition of some type. Like you saw at Smith, it's these 6 or 7 classrooms sandwiched between 2. So they do an addition and then fill in the gap, an addition and fill in the gap. The problem with that is it creates 5 different building structures. And at Vivian Field, that's 5 different floor elevations. So no, nothing quite, never seen anything like it.
And Vivian Field was kind of dark and not real happy, so I think that the light that you're bringing in
Yes, ma'am.
and the more modern, bright feeling will be a lot better. It was kind of gloomy, and I may be wrong. Maybe that's why it felt that way,
Very
because
low.
I'm tall or something. But, so, any questions, Ms. Derrick?
I have a question for you about Perry and Field, some of those older buildings
Yes, ma'am.
that have some of the original like windows. Like I think Perry does.
Yes, ma'am.
As part of the plan, are all of those types of things being replaced so that it keeps its structure, but it's newer, energy efficient type windows?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Particularly at Perry Field, there are a few that's kind of right on that cusp. Projects tracking quite well. We're going to see if we can include them. Over at Smith and Turner and those projects that are not getting full renovations, we have not been able to go there. That's a whole different package. But yes, it's something that desperately needs to be done.
At Perry especially.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Scheckman?
I was just going to say congratulations for getting rid of that quirky hall.
Oh, yeah.
My kids went there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good job.
That appears to be all the questions. Thank you, Mr. Mulroney. We really appreciate your ability to come and present tonight after withstanding, what do you call it, the draft? Every morning? Yeah. Well, it sounds, okay, so, our next, okay. Annual announcement of board training credit is item 5B. So I have a report that the state legislature has, I've got it, has decided that needs to be read, and it's a little lengthy, so I'm going to kind of just mumble and work my way through it. When I get to the highlights, I'll sing it. Does that work for y'all? So, annual announcement of board training credit. Under State Board of Education rule, completing required continued education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I'm required to announce the name of each member who, as of that member's anniversary of election or appointment to the board, has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are 4 tiers or categories of board member continuing education. Tier 1, local district orientation, basic legal orientation, and legal update training. Tier 2, team building training with all board members and the superintendent. Tier 3, annual continuing education. And Tier 4, evaluating and improving student outcomes, which is why we're here. To the extent applicable to board members under the legal requirements for the 4 tiers, I will announce the completion or deficiency as to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled the training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board members' training in excess of the continuing education requirements. Tier 1, the following board members have completed the Tier 1 legal update to the Texas Education Code and relevant legal developments after the most recent legislative session. Nancy Klein, Guillermo Ramos, Tara Herbacek, John Matthews, Sally Derrick, and Randy Shackman. Tier 2, the following board members have completed the required Tier 2 team building training. Nancy Klein, Guillermo Ramos, Tara Herbacek, John Matthews, Sally Derrick, and Randy Shackman. Tier 3, the following board members have completed the Tier 3 annual continuing education requirements. Nancy Klein, Guillermo Ramos, Tara Herbacek, John Matthews, Sally Derrick, and Randy Shackman. Tier 4, the following board members have completed the required training on Tier 4 evaluating and improving student outcomes. Nancy Klein, Guillermo Ramos, Tara Herbacek, John Matthews, Sally Derrick, and Randy Shackman. Exceeding requirements. Board member Nancy Klein exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 17 additional hours. Board member Guillermo Ramos exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 9 additional hours. Board member Sally Derrick exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 28.5 additional hours. Board member Tara Herbacek exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 30.75 additional hours. Board member John Matthews exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 23 additional hours. And board member Randy Shackman exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 23.25 additional hours. This information and all information will be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. So that's done. So that's all for that item, right, Dr. Chapman? But I think it is important that we do keep abreast of the rules, but also, you know, do the best we can serving our community. So our next item is item number 6, items for discussion and/or action. So since we had 4F pulled from the consent agenda, so 6A is items removed from the consent. So Guillermo, do you want to say anything about 4F and why you pulled it? No. Okay. So anybody want to make a motion on 4F? Mr. Shackman.
It's fine, I would move that we approve the item from the consent agenda for 4F.
So we have a motion by Mr. Shackman, a second by Ms. Hrbacek. All those in favor? So we have 5, okay, so 5 in favor. Any opposed? None. And so Mr. Ramos is abstaining. So that brings us to item 6B. Consider approve revisions to the CFBISD Board of Trustees Standards of Professional Practice, short known as our board operating procedures. Board members, so at your place, we have conveniently received a set of papers to do with this. It's got red on the top. And so if you'll reference that for agenda item 6B, there's a summary on the first sheet that kind of goes over revisions that have been made to the proposed that we discussed at the last board meeting, primarily to do with the election and transition of officers. And then there's also adding CRSS training to the continuing education about what board members typically participate in. And then the new board member orientation. New board members are encouraged to complete TASB ISD and CRSS new member training programs at their earliest opportunity. So, board members, is there any discussion or anybody? Robert's Rules of Order say make a motion, have a second, then have discussion. Would we like to do it in that way, or do we want to just have discussion first? So, is there? Ms. Derrick?
I'll move that we approve the changes and additions to the Standards of Professional Practice Board Operating Procedures as presented.
Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Derrick. We have Mr. Matthews. We have a motion, a second by Mr. Matthews. So is there any discussion? And what I would ask is, it does say like the secretary will write the names on an easel pad or flip chart.
We'll have one here next month.
So just making sure that the board secretary will have the proper tools available.
It will be.
Maybe a drone flying over the boardroom or something might be appropriate. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Hrbacek.
Is that my microphone? I think we said it kind of in preliminary discussions at our last meeting, but I like these, the election and transition of officers language. I think it's a real defined process as opposed to what we've done in the past. The only question I do have is on the roles. Did we, on the assistant secretary?
Oh, so this board has typically had 4 officers, a board president, vice president, secretary, and assistant secretary. And the go-bys that we were using did not list our typical assistant secretary. It's something that, you know, if Ms. Hrbacek as the secretary ever were to miss a meeting, it is nice to have someone to sign, or, you know, or if, so it's just board's preference on how they, Ms. Hrbacek?
That wasn't to add it, I was just wanted to confirm and so that everybody was aware. I honestly believe the role is probably not necessary, because in other procedures, if a secretary is absent, you could, appoint an acting secretary and do it that way. So I am in favor of leaving it off the officer list.
I would ask Dr. Chapman. Dr. Chapman, do you have a preference in what you've seen?
This is the first district I've been in that we've seen an assistant secretary.
So you would be okay without one?
I'm gonna go with whatever you decide.
Okay, so Dr. Chapman is flexible and does not see an error in changing the format. So I wonder, does it say anywhere else in the procedures about the assistant secretary? Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, I read it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? So we have 6 in favor. Any opposed? None. So that is that for that. And that's our annual review. So our next item is 6C, conduct the superintendent formative evaluation, and 6C1, closed meeting is authorized under Texas Government Code, including but not limited to Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real property, 551.074, personnel matters, 551.076, security devices, 551.082, school children, district employees, disciplinary matter or complaint, 551.0821, personally identifiable student information, 551.084, investigation. Audience members are welcome to remain in the boardroom as board members recess and move into room 4 for deliberations. The time is now 8:38 p.m. This meeting is recessed. Whose knees are locked up? Would you join us for a few minutes at the beginning, please, sir?
The other two were supposed to be here, were just no-shows. Oh, I'm glad you were. So I said, there was no, I said, I'm really sorry. let me think about what we can do. Like, these other parents thought they were still going to be announced. It's like, we've already announced it on the website, it's our press release, and lots of other social media, so I don't know what to do for them. I wouldn't have announced them either. So I don't know what to do to make that right. I mean, if that's the policy, then we change it all the way around. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. Let's say, here's this screenshot of, you know, the. Oh, so they're probably watching it. Yes.
Hey Trudy,
Yes, ma'am?
do you have a single CFB note card? Like to write a note, a CFB logo note card?
Just a generic
Yes.
one?
Just that says CFB?
I believe so. Let me look, because he uses ones that actually say something on them, but I think we do have one.
Okay, just one.
Okay. Where do you want me to leave it?
If there's an envelope too, that'd be great.
You want me to leave it at your spot?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
make it without me.
We're back. Board members, we are back on the record in open session, having returned from closed session. The time is now 9:49 p.m. and we'll reconvene for possible action regarding items discussed in closed meeting. Board members, is there any action we would like to take? Mr. Shackman.
Mrs. Klein, I'd like to speak on behalf of the board. We are incredibly proud as a board of all of our staff. They have worked tirelessly through this process. From groundskeepers to janitors to assistant superintendents and our superintendent and all across. And the work that is being performed is amazing. It takes good leadership, and as a board, we respect, appreciate, and encourage your continued leadership, Dr. Chapman. As part of the concluding sections from our board for your annual review, we want to take this opportunity to go on record and make a motion that we will extend your contract the maximum we can, which is 1 year, and we will change your salary beginning in November to the amount of $293,512 with other benefits and other parts of your compensation package remaining the same. We are thankful for how you have sustained our staff during this time. In ways we wish we could do a lot more, and in ways we wish that we could for all of our staff and everyone, because you've all worked so hard. But Dr. Chapman, we appreciate you, and we will make that motion to extend the term and to increase the salary effective in November.
So we have a motion by Mr. Shackman. We have a second by Mr. Matthews. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? So we have 6 in favor. Any opposed? None opposed? Thank you, Dr. Chapman. We really appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all.
We'll sign it tonight if we can. So, thank you. I still have to close the meeting. Let's see. So our next item is discussion by board members of posted agenda items. Board members, do you have any comments you want to make at this time? Ms. Herbacek. That sounds like an ocean.
There was a lot of thanks going around, and thanks to our staff and Dr. Chapman as well, but Nancy, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Anyone that talks to you can hear your dedication to CFB. Thank you.
Okay, item number 8, adjournment. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of our agenda and we are adjourned at 9:53 p.m.